we made it to the 6-month mark. Woohoo! So I've been really bad at making these little videos that I had set out to do, but I think 6 months presents the opportunity to do a really excellent recap video of takeaways from things that we learned in the past few months. Bringing him home and getting him to sleep through the night was a bit of an ordeal. It took about a week before he was actually sleeping through the night in stretches longer than just like maybe an hour or two. So my husband and I were definitely feeling very frazzled after a week of sleepless nights. We were using sound machines and we were using earplugs, and it was truly awful. But part of why it was rough is because we had put Ollie, we have been crate training, and we had Ollie on the floor in a wire crate where he could not see us at night. So once we switched and put him in a travel crate, hard-sided travel crate, up at eye level where he could see us at night, it was let's call it the magic bullet. He was much more at ease and he would finally sleep for several hours at a time, and then he would wake up and either need to go potty or might whimper for a few minutes, but then would go back to sleep. Either way, we were finally on track to finally getting in a routine, and we were feeling more rested, and it was much better once we figured out our nighttime routine. Something else we did not do well and are still course correcting on is leaving Ollie on his own. And it's really hard when you have a puppy, and my husband and I, we both are home quite a lot. He works from home usually about 4 days a week. I work from home 2 days a week, and we stagger those days. So one of us is always at home. And so there's really not many reasons for Ollie to truly be home alone. And, you know, it's a blessing and a curse, because, you know, while they're little and they're house trained or not house trained, you don't ever really leave them. But at some point you need to go to dinner and resume having a social life, and then your puppy is gonna freak out because they don't know how to be by themselves. And so we sort of put ourselves in that situation by never leaving Ollie. But we have recently been kind of course correcting. About a month ago, we started trying to leave him for shorter amounts of time, you know, under an hour. And it wasn't going super well in the crate, despite, you know, always feeding him. I shouldn't say always. We have been feeding him in his crate and, you know, giving him treats in there and trying to put him in there for periods of time. And of course, he sleeps in there at this point in time, you know, great throughout the night. But when we would go to leave the house, he would kind of freak out. So we switched to putting him in a small enclosed room in our house, and I mean, basically turning it into Disneyland. Lots of treats and puzzle games, and, you know, I'd pack Kongs with portions of his meal and just try to occupy him with busy things. So it would take him a while before he would even realize that we were gone. And we also got a puppy camera so we could kind of keep tabs on how he was doing, and that seems to be working out much better for us, and he's starting to kind of get used to that situation. So my takeaway from that is more frequent trips away from the puppy so they're on their own and they learn how to self-soothe earlier. The third thing that was hard, it probably comes as no surprise, teething. Ollie, thankfully, is now done with his teething, but I was a freaking pincushion for several weeks while that was going on. I mean, those baby teeth are no joke, like barbed razors. I must have watched every single, like, how to get your puppy to stop biting you video on YouTube, with little to no success on that front. And I mean, he wasn't chewing and biting on me because he was being, you know, it wasn't like a leadership problem, or it wasn't, you know, him being aggressive. It wasn't anything like that. He was just a puppy, and he was just playing, but those little teeth just really catch you. Anyway, I just had to be careful with myself, and we tried using things like bitter apple, and I just stopped wearing nice clothes. And I know that all sounds crazy, but it's a very short period of time, and I promise you, you can survive. So now that that's all behind us, it's no longer an issue for us. I mean, he's a Malvi puppy, but those teeth are not razors. I have no scars. I'm not bleeding anymore. So you can get through it too. One thing that we did really well, especially for being in a condo on the second floor, was might be surprising that this is in my good list, but we got real grass potty pads from a company called Doggy Lawn, not sponsored, and we used those out on our balcony. He took to those so fast. So we did have a few accidents in the house, but as I mentioned, we did do crate training, so it was pretty easy to kind of keep tabs on where he was at all times because he was usually in the crate. And then we did also control his water and controlled his food, and so he did have a rhythm that we could expect. And so prior to having all of his vaccinations, we did not take him out to the general grassy areas around our condo building because there's any number of dogs from, you know, we live in an urban setting, and we just didn't want to expose him to any number of things that he could have picked up from who knows where. And so we used these grass pads on our balcony, and it was awesome. So he would go when we would take him out there, and we actually bought bells, which I'll show you in another clip, that we hung on our patio doors. And I swear, you know, there was a couple of times where he accidentally bumped the bells, and we would immediately open the door and he could run out, and he really, really quickly picked up on the fact that he could get outside by ringing those bells. And once he connected those two dots, he pretty much potty trained himself. I think we brought him home at 9 weeks, and he was pretty well potty trained by 14 weeks, 15 without, there would be an occasional accident that was usually our fault by either not watching his cues or, making him wait too long after he had kind of signaled that he needed to go out. But he was really easy to potty train. Something else we did that I think will really be a good thing for us in the long run was getting him used to being groomed. Most dogs need to be handled quite often, whether it be by you or by a vet. And so, it's a common complaint that people, have trouble clipping their dog's nails, or, they don't want you to take something out of their mouth, or they're too wiggly when you brush them. We got a grooming table. I think it was maybe $60 on Amazon. It's collapsible. And so I just regularly would stick Ollie on top of this table and, touch him with the brush and give him treats, or just put him up there and, just kind of play with him. It just made him comfortable with being put up at a height and being handled. And then we also would take a toothbrush. We have like a cordless electric toothbrush, and we'd take the head off of it and just turn it on. So it would start vibrating and making noise, and we would just set that next to him while he was eating his meals, or I'd like rub it all over him while giving him a treat. And so it would desensitize him towards the sounds or towards, the feeling of something, like the vibration. And he's a champion now. He does not mind being brushed, and you can pick up and play with his feet. And I even since then have gotten a cordless clipper, and I now do some of his own grooming at home. And it just, he's 6 months old, and he is very comfortable with having his mouth held shut and his ears pulled over. And so it's not a traumatizing experience when he has to go to the vet and have a stranger, you know, handling him like that. We also bought a shower wand for our second bathroom, which that might sound like a weird thing, but prior to him, we didn't have one, and so bathing our previous dog was always kind of a struggle. And so we did install one before bringing him home. And while we don't give him a lot of baths, it's kind of on a as needed basis, we would stick him in the tub with a lick mat and treats, and would just have the shower wand going next to him and standing, so he would like stand in a wet tub, you know, just introducing and normalizing all of these things that don't happen super often, so that when they do happen, it isn't a scary experience that he doesn't know how to cope with. And I think all of that has really paid off, because he's super chill when we do pretty much anything with him in terms of maintenance. Other things we've done in the last 6 months, Ollie has also completed his Star Puppy certification. So we did take him to puppy classes, and he has also completed his first confirmation training class. But those are both going to be separate videos. And I will also make another video to talk about some dietary, health-related stuff, as well as toys and other things that we have purchased for Ollie. And lastly, I will be making a video that talks a little bit more about the grooming routine for Oliver, who again is an English Cocker Spaniel, and it has been a little confusing for me learning how to maintain his hair, because he's not a very common breed around where I live, and I haven't been able to find a lot of resources for a new layperson to the grooming world to learn from. So I'll give you a recap on those in another video. So thanks for watching.